Welcome back, everybody. Ready to dive into some of the latest happenings around the globe.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it.
First stop, Sweden. Sadly, a pretty horrific event unfolded there. Deadliest mass shooting in their history.
Yeah. Really shook people up. An unemployed guy, 35 years old, opened fire at an adult education center. 11 people lost their lives. He then, well, took his own life, too.
Just tragic. And really makes you think, especially when we compare it to, sadly, other parts of the world where this is, well, a bit more frequent, right?
Absolutely. Makes you question things. Like, how effective are those gun control policies, really? Are there cultural factors at play? And how does a society come back from something like this?
Big questions, for sure. It'll be crucial to see what comes out of the investigation and, well, how the country heals from this. But switching gears now, something totally different. Trump, with a bold move, to say the least. He's suggesting the U.S. should basically take over Gaza.
Yeah, resettle the Palestinian residents, oversee the redevelopment. Quite the proposal.
Definitely stirred up a lot of controversy worldwide. What are your thoughts?
Well, gotta start by acknowledging the huge elephant in the room, right? The history, the politics, it's all incredibly complex in that region.
For sure.
Gaza, under international law, it's occupied territory. Long, and let's be honest, troubled history.
Right.
So even if we entertain this idea as a serious policy, not just talk, there are roadblocks everywhere you look. International law, logistical nightmares, and the simple fact, you can't just uproot millions of people.
Yeah, it seems no matter where you stand politically, that's got to be, well, impractical on a massive scale.
Absolutely. It underlines something really important, though. When we're dealing with sensitive topics like this, we need depth. The history, the cultural nuances, the human impact, it all matters.
Couldn't agree more. Now, before we get too deep into those geopolitical waters, some quick hits. Another school attack, this one in Sweden again. Thankfully not as bad as the shooting, but still worrying.
Yeah, concerning for sure.
Then there's the US Postal Service, lifting that suspension on packages from Hong Kong and China. Think that might mean some easing of trade tensions.
It's possible, yeah. Remember, that suspension was part of that whole trade war escalation last year. So this move could be a good sign, a willingness to kind of step back, maybe work toward a more balanced trade situation. But early days still. Gotta watch for what happens next. So digging deeper into some of these stories, let's unpack them a bit further.
Starting with that school shooting, Sweden. Their gun control laws, what's the deal there? And how might this, well, tragedy impact their approach going forward?
Yeah, so Sweden's got some of the strictest laws globally when it comes to guns. You want to own a firearm, license, background checks, thorough, regulations, everywhere. This event, it's a real anomaly for them.
So then how do they reconcile this awful event with, well, historically being so strong on gun control?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? They'll be wrestling with that for a while, I'd say. Maybe tighten restrictions further, maybe look for loopholes in the current system. But honestly, even with the tightest laws, sometimes tragedies still happen.
True. Sobering thought. Now, that Trump proposal on Gaza challenged some norms there. You mentioned legal hurdles. What kind of stuff are we talking about?
Right. So under international law, specifically the Fourth Geneva Convention, Gaza is considered occupied territory. That means Israel, the occupying power, they've got responsibilities, treatment of civilians, their rights, all that.
So legally, Trump's idea kind of just sidesteps that whole existing framework.
Exactly. Any move by the U.S., solo, to take control. Violation of international law, big time. Likely a ton of pushback globally, maybe even from U.S. allies.
And the Palestinians themselves.
Yeah.
How are they feeling about all this?
As you'd expect, a lot of opposition. Many see it as another attempt to, well, displace them, undermine their right to self-determination. Their argument is any solution for Gaza has to include them, gotta respect their rights.
Seems like this proposal creates as many problems as it tries to solve, huh?
Yeah, it does. Underscores the whole complexity and sensitivity. No easy answers here.
Okay, moving on. US Postal Service. They're lifting the ban on packages from Hong Kong and China, right? Economic impact there. What do we think?
Could be a step toward easing those trade tensions with China, for sure. Remember, that ban was part of the whole trade war back and forth, lifting it. Maybe a sign they want to de-escalate things, maybe work toward a more, I don't know, balanced trade relationship. But who knows? Early days still. Gotta wait and see what other actions come next.
Gotcha. Yeah, worth watching. All right, let's lighten the mood a bit, yeah. That guy from Japan, Toco, living the collie life, people are eating this story up.
Yeah, I get it. Taps into something, primal. Humans in nature, shedding those societal constraints, maybe even exploring different parts of ourselves, our identities.
That zoo he set up, is that like A real attempt to blur the lines between us and animals?
Yeah.
Or just a fun way to play with self-expression?
Bit of both, it seems. Gives people a space to, I don't know, try on different personas, step outside their everyday lives, connect with something more instinctive.
Makes you wonder if there's a bigger message there, doesn't it? Acceptance, the freedom to be yourself, even if it's, well, unconventional.
Definitely some of that, I think.
Okay.
Toko's story challenges the whole idea of normal. How much do we let society dictate our choices, you know?
Powerful stuff, for sure. Now, before we wrap up, that story about Elon Musk. Congresswoman had some criticisms. She seems to be, well, a bit of a lightning rod these days.
He is. I think it reflects the scrutiny folks with power face, individuals, and corporations in today's world. The stakes are high.
What were her concerns, specifically?
Conflicts of interest, Musk's involved with Tesla, SpaceX, government contracts, the whole thing. Plus, criticism about labor practices, treatment of workers at his companies.
So it's bigger than just business, right? Social, ethical stuff, too.
Exactly. It's this growing awareness, a demand for accountability, not just from the government, but from big companies, powerful individuals. The impact they have, it matters.
And we're seeing that play out everywhere, yeah. Tech giants, social media, the whole 9 yards. If you got power, got to be responsible.
No doubt. How that'll all unfold, it's going to be interesting to watch. These lines of responsibility, how they're drawn, redefined, constantly evolving. So as we wrap up, I guess what I want to leave folks with is this. Stay informed, yes, but stay engaged too. Stay curious. And when you're looking at these complex issues, try to do it with empathy and open mind.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep that conversation going.